When people learn that Lorraine and I have been travelling the world for 14 years, one of the questions they asked us is, what's your favourite place? I have to say Vietnam is high on the list. In fact, we have now been to Vietnam 3 times. That's nearly spending 3 months in Vietnam. The most important thing about travelling to Vietnam is, whether you're travelling by bus or by plane to Vietnam, you must have acquired an entry visa prior to getting onto your bus or your aeroplane. There is no visa upon arrival in Vietnam. Here's a few more need to know things. You've arrived in Vietnam, so obviously you must have your visa. The money is in millions. You need a calculator. Don't try to work it out, it's not worth the time or the energy. Getting around, easy as anything. Sleeper buses run the full length of the country and they're very, very comfortable. Accommodation in Vietnam is excellent. Guest houses and family-run hotels are everywhere. Homestays are always very, very good in the rural areas. If you have any health issues whatsoever, I suggest you have travel insurance. In fact, it's essential before you head to Vietnam. One or two more need to know. The street food is excellent and it's very, very safe to eat, so don't worry about it too much at all. And now, beer is cheaper than water. That's the most important thing you need to know. Here's a few fun facts. Motorbikes outnumber the people, so crossing the road isn't about speed, it's about confidence and keeping your same pace all the way across. The street food is often cooked right on the pavement, and some of the best meals are eaten sitting inches from the traffic. A simple rule you should follow all of the time. Eat where the locals eat and you'll never go wrong. We had just spent the last 3 months wandering all the way through China, and we crossed the border into Vietnam at a place called Sapa. Sapa is a small area and is populated by 3 different indigenous tribes. It was a great, great learning curve staying with them, and basic beyond belief. The photograph in the top left-hand corner is the first indigenous tribe we stayed with. One of the things we learnt there was that some of the ladies had very black teeth. When we inquired why this was so, they said once a person is married and she has her first child, she eats the betel nut. Eating the betel nut turns her teeth black, but it also is a signal to the rest of the men in the population that she's married with children and no longer available. The photograph in the top centre was part of a carnival that they put on for us, and the 2 boys in there were blindfolded and they have to try and catch the pig. None of them have succeeded. One of the great things about Sapa is we were surrounded by children from start to finish, and as you can see, the photograph in the top right, those smiles were excellent. The 3 photographs at the bottom is the place where we stayed, and what those men are preparing is dinner. That little pig was black and running around in the pen, and now he's being prepared for dinner, and nothing went to waste. Lorena is in the far right, helping the lady in their house there make spring rolls. The 3 photographs at the bottom is the living environment. As you see, there's no furniture whatsoever, and we were drinking rice wine for breakfast. The 3 photographs at the top are the kitchen, and in the far right, that's the communal food storage. And yes, those are dogs. After our time in Sapa, we jumped on an overnight train and arrived early in the morning in the big city of Hanoi. We found a nice hotel in the tourist area and it was central to everything. Perfect. The next morning, we made our way to the train street. I'd seen photographs of the train street, but I found it difficult to believe that this really existed. That's Lorena in the bottom right-hand corner, And on those little tables we had a cup of coffee waiting for the train, and it wasn't very long before the train arrived. I couldn't resist. I found out what time the train was arriving in the afternoon, made sure my camera was fully charged, and went and took this video. I had to pinch myself a couple of times to confirm that this train was really coming down the street, and in Sapa those were really dogs hanging in the market square. We visited the Ho Ha Lo prison, which was also named the Hanoi Hilton. It was used to hold the American prisoners of war. The good news, it no longer exists. It has been torn down. When we escaped from the prison, we ran down to the docks to get the boat to Ha Long Bay. We were quite surprised to see that boat on the left, and very, very pleased when we found out that was a fishing boat and the boat on the right was the one we were travelling to Ha Long Bay. On the trip over from Hanoi, we saw an awful lot of the Ha Long Bay, and it's quite an unbelievably beautiful place. We also took our time to do some kayaking while we were over there, and as you can see the photograph in the bottom left, that's Lorena finding a new form of transport. That cost us $1. On our second day, we hiked through the caves. It was a very colourful experience. We returned to Hanoi, and I was totally convinced there was nothing more Hanoi could do to surprise me. We were quite used to seeing children on these mopeds, but the one on the right, he was driving with his right hand and he was using his left hand to carry a naked child. I was surprised. Following day, we headed south and we stopped at a couple of little villages on the way. They were both very, very good. As these photographs show, we had lots of interesting things in these two little towns. You can see on the left, Lorena was stick dancing. If you don't get it right, it's very painful on your ankles. And then she wandered into a clothes shop, chose material and bought some more clothes. People in the top right, we were walking around that lake and they invited us to join them. And then I decided to get my hair cut in the street. This last photograph proves we can't go more than 2 days without seeing a Buddha. This slide shows the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum in Hanoi, which is the final resting place of their revolutionary leader, Ho Chi Minh. The city originally was called Saigon. We enjoyed the many parks around Ho Chi Minh City, and there are as many statues of Ho Chi Minh himself. We wandered over to the Ho Chi Minh Zoo and spent a very, very pleasant day wandering around looking at all the different animals. The following day we went to see the Chu Chi tunnels which Pol Pot and his army built. The photographs on the left show you how thin and slim you had to be to get in and out of the tunnels. On the right, that's the exit to the tunnels, and that's Lorena and her friend climbing up the many, many steps. The photograph in the centre, words fail me. Our bag is at the very, very bottom of that big pile of bags. And the photograph on the right, you're going to find this difficult to believe, is a restaurant. I've heard of hole in the wall before, but I've never ever actually seen one. If you ever get the opportunity to go to Vietnam, don't miss it. The place is wonderful, the people are very, very friendly, and it's very, very economical. Make it number 1 on your list of places to go. The end. We really hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed the last 14 years of travelling the world. Travelling, the only way to live.